The following are news stories from May, June, and July 2023, and these all deal with patron management related issues, crowd management, things like that. So I'm Gil Fried from the Crowd Management Doctor, and let's go right to the news lines. A driver hit and ran outside of Chicago Stadium and injured some people, unfortunately. 4 people standing in a crowd just outside the White Sox baseball stadium in Chicago were struck and injured by a hit-and-run driver earlier this year. The driver headed east in the 300 block of West 35th Street struck the pedestrians just after 6:30 p.m. Chicago police and fire officials indicated, and it was reported in the Chicago Sun-Times, what happened. One of the pedestrians who was struck went into the air and through the vehicle's sunroof inside the vehicle in the crash, officials said. He was taken in serious condition to the University of Chicago Medical Center, as reported by the fire officials. The Sun-Times reported that 3 others were also hospitalized, including a 51-year-old woman who was taken to University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition, a 24-year-old man, and a 25-year-old man. These 2 other last men were taken to Stroger Hospital in fair and critical condition. As was indicated by an official, our hearts go out to the 4 fans who were injured this evening, their families and friends, as well as the fans who witnessed the incident on their way to a baseball game. And that was a statement that was put out by the White Sox. The Chicago White Sox organization expresses its appreciation to the Chicago Police Department, the Chicago Fire Department, the Illinois State Police, and others, including fans who responded to the incident and provided immediate care for the victims. This is just an example that things can go on around your venue and you just have to be aware of them, even though it has nothing to do with the game. In this case, the driver fled the scene and crashed on the Dan Ryan Expressway near 46th Street. The male driver and 3 others in the car, 2 men, 23 and 25, and a 20-year-old woman, were taken to a nearby hospital in fair condition. As reported by the Sun-Times, the police did not release the age of the driver. 2 people were killed and 3 others were injured after police said a shooter began firing randomly into a crowd at a Washington State campground that was hosting people attending a nearby music festival. Authorities received the first report of the shooting shortly before 8:30 p.m. at the camping area a few hundred yards from the Gorge Amphitheater, where thousands of people were attending an electronic dance music festival. The Gorge is near the small city of George, and that's about 150 miles east of Seattle. After the initial shots were fired, the suspect started moving through the campground and continued to shoot randomly into the crowd until he was eventually confronted by police and taken into custody. The suspect was shot in the confrontation with the police, and the suspect was hospitalized for his injuries, but no further details were immediately released as the time of the news story. A public alert had advised people that there was an active shooter in the area and to run, hide, or fight. There was no effort, though, to evacuate the festival. The festival continued following the shooting and did not end until the next day. He was again on the periphery of the property, law enforcement said, and they had eyes on him and they were able to keep him in that area. He wasn't moving towards the venue, is what the police said. Details on the victims would be released at a later time, according to officials. Organizers of the Beyond Wonderland Electronic Music Festival said on social media that Sunday's event at the Gorge was canceled. Concert organizers described the shooting site as an overflow camping area, and most people who were staying there were likely at the concert when the shooting occurred. An independent oversight group, the North Central Washington Special Investigation Unit, is investigating the shooting. 4 people were arrested at Darien Lake's Luke Bryan concert. 4 people were arrested at the June 16th Luke Bryan concert at Darien Lake, according to the Genesee County Sheriff's Office. A 20-year-old from Lakeview faces 2 counts of disorderly conduct after allegedly spitting on a Darien Lake security guard, knocking over a fence, and threatening security in the parking lot. An 18-year-old from Lancaster was arrested for criminal trespass after allegedly jumping a fence to get into the amphitheater. That is something we're seeing more and more frequently, that fences are just a suggestion not to go in, and people are jumping over them on a regular basis or breaking them down. Also, a 22-year-old from East Aurora faces a criminal trespass charge after allegedly returning to the Darien Lake Performing Arts Center after being ejected and told not to return. Also, a 27-year-old from Hamilton, Ontario faces a harassment charge after allegedly punching someone in the face. This was all at one concert. And country music concerts are normally more dangerous than a lot of other concerts. Las Vegas police foil a Stanley Cup terror threat hours before the Golden Knights win. And this happened in June of 2023. Las Vegas Metro Police arrested a man who threatened a mass shooting at the Stanley Cup final hours before the Vegas Golden Knights clinched the championship. Police responded to a business near Smoke Ranch Road and Tenya Way for a report of a person later identified as Matthew DeSavio, 33, who was threatening a mass shooting at the Stanley Cup final, documents said. The person told police DeSavio had stalked them for about a decade. DeSavio later showed up to the business where officers arrested him. DeSavio also posted threatening messages about the game on Facebook. "I'm coming for you guys tonight, and I hope you get every expletive police officer in Vegas Golden Knights there to defend you," one message said. "Hope Sin City is ready for the Mandalay Bay Massacre Part 2 was another post that he had. Another person contacted police seeing the Facebook post with DeSavio, and they claimed they wanted to conduct a mass shooting at T-Mobile Arena. And that's what they saw, and that's what they reported to police. That's why it's so important, if you see something, read something, hear something, contact authorities. A massive hailstorm pummeled concertgoers, injuring nearly 100. A powerful hailstorm crashed down on concertgoers at a Louis Tomlinson show in Colorado, and it injured nearly 100 people, including at least 7 who were taken to the hospital. Fans of the English singer and songwriter were forced to run for cover as the massive hail pellets rained down on the Red Rocks Park and Amphitheater, an open-air venue around 10 miles west of Denver. The storm forced the gig to be called off. "It was straight out of a horror movie," one Twitter user wrote, sharing a video of a deluge slamming down on an outdoor staircase covered in what appeared to be hail. The footage could not be independently verified by the news station, but the West Metro Fire Rescue said at least 7 people were transported to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. And as said, when someone says it's straight out of a horror movie, then you know there's an issue. A total of 80 to 90 people were treated on the scene, the fire department said. Injuries included cuts and broken bones. So you might say it's only a hailstorm. What damage could that do? There are broken bones in this incident. The fire department said in the early hours of Thursday morning that sporadic hail was still coming down in the area after authorities responded. Severe thunderstorm warnings had been issued for the region, with some areas facing golf ball size hail, according to the National Weather Service in Boulder. Tomlinson said he was devastated about the show tonight and hopes everyone was okay. "I'll be back," he said. "Even though we didn't play the show, I felt all of your passion. Send you all my love," is what the artist tweeted. Red Rock Parks had initially said that Tomlinson's show would be delayed by the weather, as it urged concertgoers to, quote, "please shelter in your vehicle." It later said the show had officially been postponed. "Please be safe exiting the amphitheater. We'll have more information for ticket holders soon," they said. The venue said that they were trying to communicate with people as best as possible, but some of the people that were there said it was an awful experience. Are you okay? A voice can be heard asking as hail ran down on other people in one video. Another social media user shared a photo of what appeared to be a massive pellet of hail, saying, "This was a bad picture, but this is how big the hail was coming down. I am covered in bruises on my back." None of us want to experience something like that, and so it's just something we have to be aware of, and we actually have a module dealing with weather-related concerns for this very reason. The next story involved a $13 million approved to build anti-climb fencing around US Bank Stadium. The state funding is official now for anti-climbing fences around US Bank Stadium. The Minnesota Sport Facilities Authority approved nearly $13 million for the first phase of the Secured Perimeter project. That includes fencing around 3/4 of the building. It intended to increase security and public safety as well. The construction was set to start in June, and the fence isn't expected to be completed until 2024. This is just another strategy that's being used to try to prevent people from scaling over fences and getting into a venue. Juvenile stabbed outside arena after fight spills into parking lot. A North Carolina man has been charged with allegedly stabbing a juvenile outside a sport arena in Wendell. According to WRAL News, Octavio Escalera Rodriguez, 28, is charged with assault with a deadly weapon, inflicting serious injury, and he is being held on $25,000 bond. The incident occurred around 8:30 p.m. at the Gooch Sports Arena after a fight broke out inside the arena. The fight spilled out into the parking lot area where the stabbing took place. Deputies immediately took the suspect into custody, and the juvenile was transported to the hospital with severe injuries, unfortunately. This is one example of how something could start in the venue and then spill out outside, and you have to be cognizant of that. The next story, a man was fatally shot in New Mexico movie theater over a seat dispute. An argument over sitting at an Albuquerque movie theater escalated into a shooting that left a man dead and sent frightened filmgoers scrambling to flee. Detectives with the Albuquerque Police Department filed charges against 19-year-old Enrique Padilla in connection with the Sunday evening shooting at a cinema complex next to an interstate highway. Witnesses told police that a man later identified as Padilla arrived at the theater with his girlfriend and found another couple in at least one of their reserved seats. Theater staff attempted to help resolve the dispute, but it escalated with a hurled bucket of popcorn, shoving, and then gunfire, according to the police. Michael Tenorio, 52, was shot and died at the scene. His wife, Trina Tenorio, said he was unarmed. The shooter fled, and a wounded Padilla was found hiding behind a bush outside an emergency exit, according to police. A gun was also found outside that was compatible with spent casings from the shooting. Emergency dispatchers received about 20 calls as other people fled the theater. A criminal complaint and arrest warrant against Padilla listed open counts of homicide, shooting at an occupied building, and tampering with evidence. An off-duty police officer who was at the movie administered emergency aid to Tenorio. The officer witnessed the confrontation but did not see a weapon in the darkened theater. The officer reported a rapid-fire succession of gunshots before one man in the dispute ran out. 3 indoor football league players and a coach were suspended. They had been suspended because they unfortunately went in the stands. So they were indefinitely suspended from the league, the IFL commissioner announced, after a fight broke out and some players jumped into the stands during a game in Phoenix. The IFL Arizona Rattlers were playing the Massachusetts Pirates at the Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix. With just 32 seconds left in the game, a fight broke out between some Massachusetts player and fans. That's when 3 Pirate players and a coach went into the stands. KPNX-TV reported. Officials announced during the game that 5 Massachusetts players were ejected. On Monday, after the game, the IFL commissioner Todd Tyron reviewed video of the fight and a report from the game officials. He then announced that Pirates player defensive back Leon O'Neal Jr., defensive back Chris Ingram, and linebacker Charlie Chucky Williams, along with Director of Football Personnel Operations Patrick Pass, had been suspended indefinitely and fined. The IFL said the Pirates organization was also fined. What a way to end a game. 32 seconds left. Spectator stabbed at Levi Stadium during Mexico-Qatar match. A man is recovering after he was stabbed during a fight at a game between Mexico and Qatar at Levi Stadium on July 2nd. Lieutenant Kung Fan, a spokesperson for the Santa Clara Police Department, told sfgate.com that the person who was stabbed suffered a critical injury to the upper torso and is recovering in an area hospital. The next day, Santa Clara police identified a suspect and a person of interest in the case and are seeking any help they could get from the public. The NBC affiliate in San Francisco reported that the suspect is described as a man between 25 and 35-year-old with short, dark-colored hair and a thin mustache and beard. He was last seen wearing a green Mexico jersey. A person of interest in this case was described as a woman with dark-colored hair and a similar Mexico jersey. Video circulated on social media on Monday appeared to show a large fight breaking out in the stands. The Santa Clara Police Department has not confirmed that the stabbing occurred during the footage in question. KNTV reported that the wound appeared to be near the man's neck or upper torso, and it could be seen spurting blood, unfortunately. The victim told KNTV on Wednesday that he is grateful to be alive. He said the object he was stabbed with was a large pocket knife. It wasn't clear how someone was able to get that kind of weapon past stadium security. That's why it's so important to be vigilant when you're doing the screening of people coming in, because there should never be a knife coming into a venue like this where someone could use it as a weapon. A fan fell over the Citi Field outfield wall and interrupted a Mets-Giants game. On Sunday night baseball game, a fan wound up on the Citi Field warning track during the Mets Sunday night baseball game against the Giants, and he's looked at as shocked to be there as anybody else. The ESPN cameras didn't catch the fall, but the fan was seen wiping his nose and face while walking along the warning track before putting his hands up to convince security he wasn't a threat. Stadium security guards rushed over but appeared to wave off more help once they realized the fan wasn't trying to cause a problem. This is another example of a fan falling over railings, and there have been a number of those cases, unfortunately, over the last couple of years, including a mother and son who died in San Diego after falling over the railing there. Crime has a lot of potential impacts on society, but also has event potential impact. That is what this next story is about. This is a real issue for many cities and attractions, including sport, entertainment, and cultural attractions. And in Minneapolis, Jim Shuhan wrote, Twins officials have worried that Minneapolis' reputation as a place where violent crime is commonplace is keeping out-state and out-of-state fans away. Shuhan said, if you don't want to go to a Twins game because of their hitting, that's understandable. If you don't want to go to a Twins game because you fear for your life, you're ignoring the experience of a lot of people who live and play here. For a Twins game, you can park in a ramp, walk into the stadium, and never venture into the outdoors. That is not something you want to tell potential fans. You want to make sure that the area around the venue is as safe as possible, so you have to take steps to work with local officials to get it in as good shape as possible. Wimbledon bolsters security amid protests. Undercover specialist police officers are being positioned in key spots in Wimbledon's crowd, and chalk has been banned from the tennis championship for the first time as organizers attempt to thwart any environmental protesters. All England Lawn Tennis Club, AELTC CEO Sally Bolton said the specialist behavior detection officers, they're called BDOs, would work with intelligence officers to identify and anticipate protesters from Just Stop Oil, Bolton said. As we've seen at other sporting events, we can't guarantee anything, but we're extremely confident that the measures we've gotten in place are the right measures. Andy Murray, who was to play his first match on Tuesday, had said he expected the tournament to be disrupted. There were, quote, long queues even for ticket holders in SW19 on Monday, as thorough bag checks were carried out. One fan, Becky Deeming, said that she had arrived at 3:35 a.m., but got into the grounds at about 1:30 p.m., missing the first game on court, one that she had bought a ticket for. This is something that we're seeing more and more of disruptions at museums and other events. You just got to be aware of the situation, and if someone's doing something inappropriate, contact your supervisors. The summer stage halted Colombian superstar Juanes concert on Wednesday evening while he was performing his second song, citing concern over excessive crowds. The abrupt end was the first time in an annual summer series' 30-year history that a performance had to be stopped for a non-weather related reason. Heather Lubov, executive director of the City Parks Foundation, said in a statement. The foundation is the nonprofit organization that organizes the free concert through the city's 5 boroughs. The Juanes show at Summer Stage in Central Park drew a capacity crowd of 5,000 attendees inside the venue, with an estimated overflow of over 12,000 additional fans outside the gates, Lubov said. During the performance of his second song, with continued crowds at the gate and out of an abundance of caution, the show was halted and fans were asked to leave the venue. The show was put on in partnership with the Latin Alternative Music Conference. This is something you have to be, aware of, that these kind of issues are going to be occurring, and it's just monitoring the situation as more and more events have situations such as what we've had in one of our previous news stories, where at a San Diego State basketball game, people were jumping over the fences and rushing the venue. As one person said, come on, he's an international legend. You can't just have a free event for someone like Juanes and not expect an insane turnout. It shouldn't be in a lottery system to avoid the crowd. It was scary. That's the kind of feedback you get from people, and that is of legitimate concern. The same event was marred by another incident where a concert goer was pepper sprayed by a security guard after the worker accused the person of calling him F-T, and that was caught on camera. I'm not going to tell you what the words were. The event had to be abandoned because thousands had hopped fences in order to get in and create an unsafe environment, organizers said. But this video begins with a security worker accusing a group of bum rushing the gate and forcing a barrier on top of him. The man then points out one crowd member, alleging that person used the slur, "You called me a blah blah blah." Done, right now, he says. The man tells other crowd members to duck as he takes the pepper spray from his pocket and yells an expletive before storming away, and that was when he sprayed the person. Attendees said that the security personnel was inappropriate, but they also said that the overall security wasn't appropriate. So here's an example of an event where there's overcrowding, there's people jumping fences, and security is not operating in an effective manner. That is a perfect example of why you need appropriate training, and hopefully appropriate training can prevent similar situations in the future. All right, the next story deals with weather-related concerns. And weather-related concerns continued in July, and it's not just the heat which was causing issues, because that can cause a lot of problems during events like concerts, and there actually have been stories about how concerts and amusement parks and other entities have been trying to deal with the heat. But Lionel Messi was introduced to the Inter Miami faithful and hit a little bit of a delay on Sunday as the South Florida rain pushed back the start of the event and sent fans scrambling through one of the gates at DRV PNK Stadium. Video posted to Twitter by Magic City Soccer appeared to show fans going through what looked to be an unmanned gate outside the stadium to enter the grounds and find cover from the torrential downpour. La Presentación as it was dubbed by the team, was a ticketed event with season ticket holders being given complimentary tickets, and then a limited number of tickets were made available to the general public. A previous video posted by the Magic City Soccer account did appear to show a security guard originally at the gate as the sky began to open up. Security abandoned their posts as the worst of weather came in. The two videos were captioned, "Supporters breached the gates and passed security with no one on hand. This may be a problem," was the other quote that was used in one of the Twitter posts. So if you have a post, you cannot abandon your post. Severe weather moved through the area at the end of Bring Me the Horizon's opening set, which then caused the venue to evacuate everyone to their vehicles and pause the night's performance. Attendees were told to keep an eye on social media for updates, but many complained of having a lack of cell phone service in the area. The show eventually resumed, but some concert goers were allegedly told by security and the staff that the show was canceled, with some heading home as a result of that. Fall Out Boy ended up playing a condensed version of their show, cutting their set list in half, as time constraints prevented music from being played after midnight. The Somerset Amphitheater posted updates on social media, but those in attendance said it never made announcements over any of the speakers or on the video boards. Thus, you always have to take a look at how do you communicate, and is your communication channel effective? If you have a strategy, make sure that strategy can be used. And if people are on social media and can have access to social media, that's great, but you have to tell them exactly where to find it, and if not, have multiple strategies for communicating to individuals. That was a lot of news stories. So there was a lot that was going on in May, June, and the start of July. Hopefully the rest of the summer is not going to be as busy, but if it is, we will share those highlights with you. Or I should say probably lowlights, because there are unfortunate situations that people get injured. Be safe out there. Stay well. Bye.